Yeah, honestly, this was like the film of the festival for me. It might be film of the year for me.
I could have sworn I saw the trailer and there's a lot of bees.
Like, I've made it. I've seen a film I'm not even allowed to talk about.
Bring this back to normality here. I'm going to redeem myself.
Welcome to The Film Angle, a podcast where we dive deep into the latest releases and unearth the classics to better our cinephilic curiosity. I'm Alex.
And I'm Kris.
And today, or should I say, let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
And
You're gonna
today...
stick with the script.
I'm going to stick with the script. I'm so sorry. Today, we're reviewing our experiences, which were very different, of the BFI London Film Festival in 2025. The festival finished at the weekend. I got the chance to go for about a 6-day period in the end, in the middle of it, and got to see, I think I saw about 15 films in person, and then I saw another 4 either through a screener or through the online portal. So that was my experience, which was slightly less than last year. So I think I was... Well, maybe that isn't right, though, because now I'm thinking about it, I only saw 17 films overall, so maybe I saw 12.
If it is, let's say, if it is 15, is 15 too much? Too many films? Too little films?
Is it too many films? It's interesting watching films in quite quick succession, especially when you're watching a lot of good films, and the majority of them are really good. But especially, we are people who rate things on Letterboxd and all that kind of stuff. And it's very difficult to know how to, rate them when it's like one good thing after the other. And you're just like, well, if that was a 5, does that mean that's not a 5? And
yeah,
if that's
what if
a
it's
4.5? Is that a 4? And then then it really kind of messes with your brain of just like, wow, ranking art is a silly and ridiculous thing, even though I love to do it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like none of this makes sense because these films are all so different, but they're all so good at the same time. So it plays with you a little bit there, and then also sometimes you don't have time to decompress.
Straight
on
revolving
films.
door, straight into the next. Yeah. Okay.
I think the day I saw my favorite film of the festival was the same time I saw another film, which was like one of my top 3, and it was like an hour in between them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
sure.
yeah, there's a lot going on. I think the good thing about festivals is obviously so many people get to see these films slightly early, and then you build up the kind of buzz. And I can come here today, and I've seen a mix of the big and small films, and kind of be able to tell you this is what you should be looking out for. This is what needs more eyes on it. That is the great stuff. But yeah, in terms of just generally watching films, it's probably better to have a little bit of time to decompress in between each one. But I'm also not going to do one film a day or one film every other day because it's expensive going to London and staying there for a week. So yeah. And I tried to do that thing where I got an Airbnb with a kitchen, but then I barely use the kitchen.
I know you do use the kitchen.
The one day I was gonna use the kitchen, I got drunk with Max Martin. Shout out Max Martin, who's been on the show before. I had a few beers with him at the Waterloo train station before he was getting his train back home, and I hadn't eaten, so I floated home that day. And I was like, I'm not cooking. I'm getting a takeaway pizza.
So you're knocking back beers or whatever you were drinking, but
not even that many, to be honest with you. He's probably looking back and be like, when did I get drunk with Alex?
but there was nothing in the tank, is what you're saying. It was just going into a hole. Okay, yeah, that's problematic. Yeah.
But it was really nice, and it was really nice to catch up with some of the guys that we've had on the show before, like Gavin, like Max, and I haven't seen them since the last London Film Festival, other than virtually. And it was nice to be with those guys, and those guys are so lovely, and they're like, yeah, come sit with us, come meet my friends, meet these guys, and it's just a lovely network of like-minded people there. So yeah, you really just get to get chatting with people and talk about film. Honestly, with a press pass, it is an amazing experience. It's full-blown film, and all the stuff that comes with that, whether that be, having a pint afterwards and talking about the films, or in between, or going out to lunch with people.
Those are the bonuses, right? Yeah.
That's why you go to London. So, yeah, but everybody wants you there, Kris. I said I'd kidnap you if you couldn't make it happen next year.
That's they were just being polite, Alex.
No, they all asked about you unprompted.
They'll be disappointed whenever they meet the real version. It's fine.
Absolutely not.
So we'll touch on some of those big movies that you were kind of teasing, and we'll touch on some of those smaller films that will definitely need like the extra attention. I'm sure that you'll be happy to give that if they're good. If they're not, we'll just skim by.
Yeah.
So you're fresh back from doing the solo trip, representing the film angle at the London Film Festival, and just letting everybody know that this is the first time that we've spoken since you've come back. So this is a genuine catch up.
Yeah.
This isn't
this is genuine.
This is not fabricated.
Yeah.
So you genuinely had a good time. Before we go do a deep dive on those big films that we're talking about, I know you're excited to kind of talk about some of the films that I was able to catch up on metaphysically while you were at the festival physically. Yep. But did you watch any of these at home too? The ones we're talking about today?
Yes. I've lost the note of the films we're watching, but I think I saw all of them. So together we're going to discuss. Oh wait, no, I saw one on the big screen.
Sure.
So together we're going to discuss Blue Heron, which I saw on the big screen, and you saw a screener of, and then the other two I both, same as you, saw on the online portal that the London Film Festival kind of gives people with a press pass, and that was Ish. And She's the He, which actually technically wasn't on the online portal. That was also a screener that we had just prior to the festival,
but screened at the festival. Yeah,
it screened at the festival. Yeah. It was like the first time we've ever had a screener for a film where like we weren't allowed to talk about it. We had an embargo, so we had seen it and we couldn't say anything.
Alex just wrote the word embargo in Letterboxd before he'd even seen the film.
I was like, I've made it. I've seen a film I'm not even allowed to talk about.
Should we just start doing that with like big movies and just be like the first people to do it on our account, just say embargo for
Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah, Avengers Doomsday. Yeah. Embargo on smiley face, not my cup of tea. Yeah. Okay. Where should we start? Should we start with Ish?
Yeah, let's start with Ish.
Start close to home.
Yeah, exactly. It's a debut feature, a British film from Imran Peretta, and it's about two best friends, Ish and Miram, who are on the cusp of becoming teenagers, and they exist within this kind of I think it's Luton. Luton, and they are both kind of, I guess they are both racially profiled by the kind of local police there, and a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of global politics going on in the background. This is set in very modern day, where we've got the genocide on Palestine happening in the background, in terms of like you're hearing about that on the news, on the radio, and I believe Miram, he is a Palestinian child. So all of that is going on in the background, and then this film kind of blows up at one point when they both get, I believe, like almost like stop and search by the police, and Ish runs off, leaving Miram to be corralled, I guess.
Which was funny because that is something that's not a spoiler. That is something that is written into the film's synopsis, the plot before you go into the movie. But it's actually quite late into the film, isn't it? It's quite. I think it's like 2/3 into the film where this sort of like this new dynamic sort of starts. But yeah, like I guess Ish, who's the younger of the two boys, is our kind of main protagonist in the story. He is this quiet young teenager grieving the death of his mum while living with his grandmother, his dad, and his older sister. And the story also, as you said, follows Miram, who is an older Palestinian boy, all whilst there, like you said, there's this growing presence of surveillance on the streets, with harsh, racial profiling and unwarranted stop and searches that comes later on in the film. So essentially, this is the story about two normal young boys and the increasing tension on their relationship from external pressures.
Mm.
So it's quite like it's a bit of like a modern version of like a Blues Brothers sort of like, there's almost sort of a Shakespearean nature to the story. Coming from a personal point of view, there's a Northern Irish film that came out in the early 2000s called Mickey Bo and Me, which was like the story of a young Protestant kid and a Catholic kid in Belfast who against their parents' wishes and the wishes of everybody around them, became best friends. Then that kind of festered whenever
Oh,
the external pressures of their families kind of got involved. So yeah, it kind of reminded me a lot of that film. Start off, I think, on the positives, because I'm not in love with this movie. I'm not.
sure,
I will
sure.
say that straight away. I think the performances in this, especially from Ish, played by Farhan Hasnat, and Maram, played by Yaya Katana, I think from the very opening scene, I think they are ridiculously natural. I think that relationship felt completely authentic to me, which is
Hmm.
amazing considering these kids were recruited from like local youth clubs and the local area. So it speaks volumes to the direction. Imran Peretta being this is his first debut film, and obviously these kids had not worked in front of the camera before, so the sheer talent of these kids have is really impressive, and it was the main thing that I took away from this film instantly. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a naturalistic setting to the whole thing.
Hmm.
The film is shot in black and white, which,
Yeah.
obviously I don't want to go too much into negatives, but I didn't love that aspect, even though you can tell cinematography wise it looks good. But yeah, I liked, you could tell what the film was trying to do in terms of the way they split them up later on, and kind of reconciling with like the paths that these boys can take, and how that is going to differ from each other, and kind of how society pushes our young boys, whether willing to or not willing to, into a certain way
Hmm.
that is almost the antithesis to what we're trying to do with our
Sure.
young boys, and then how that fractures the relationship. So there was a lot, yeah, there's a lot of stuff too, like in the kind of themes and the acting, and like you say, that friendship is the heart of the film, which makes it even more kind of devastating when they split paths in a way. So yeah, so that's what I liked. And then I do feel, since I've already brought up the black and white cinematography, I thought that kind of worked against it, because we are kind of trying to portray the UK as this kind of underfunded, grey, place that just is like a shell of what it once was, despite our kind of diverse communities. It's mainly lack of funding within the community, really, isn't it? You're seeing buildings which are derelict in a high street that is on its last legs. And I think, like, there are parts of the UK which are absolutely stunning and beautiful, but our high streets are not one of them. And even in Bristol, it looks a bit dull. It looks a bit
Yeah.
grey. So
There is a charm to the high street there, right? I mean, like, you kind of, when you
he's
walk down
trying to
the
defend it.
when you walk down the high street in the UK, you know you're in the UK. Well, let's say that anyway. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no,
I
you're
think there's
right.
a dystopian element to our high streets, but I think almost filming it in color and seeing the lack of
Hmm.
kind of interesting buildings, and kind of just the landscape, I think might have worked in its advantage to push those themes even more. These kids grow up in a place where there are no youth clubs for them. They just kind of cycle around and hang out at fairs, and and just generally just in the woods, and kind of just a lack of place, a lack of somewhere they can properly kind of connect, and not cause mischief amongst uh you know in the way that kids do that. I think there's a scene where they're in the woods just like setting off fireworks and stuff like that. Like, the idea is that these kids are just bored and they have nowhere to go,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
therefore they're acting out.
Yeah, there's a lot of time spent in the woods in this film, actually. But I completely agree with you with the black and white. It's very like monochromatic black and white too, and I feel like it almost strips its British identity away from it sometimes. Visually I think that it is very well utilized. I think it looks good, especially as shots of Ish whenever he is at home and like observing himself in the mirror, and like there's stark shadows are like both really beautiful and bleak. But there was like a question of this kind of disrupted the experience for me, which was the intention of the black and white photography and like what purpose it serves to the story. And I was waiting for that to kind of come to fruition, for it to kind of dawn on me. And unfortunately, it never, sort of became more than just an aesthetic choice to emphasize, like, downtrodden disparity and a dramatic element. And I think that's a problem I ran into pretty much throughout the entire runtime of Ish. There is like real genuine intent to make something impactful and to shed light on these issues happening in our own country. But the intent almost seemed strained on the filmmaking side. Like it was always trying a little too hard to make, the transitions of airplanes landing and taking off, intense analog close-ups, and even like the musical strings of the score were all like, begging for you to take it seriously. That I think the script sort of struggled to match its ambitions cinematically. I feel like it's a film that's got a really good foundation, but maybe just went a little bit too far in some elements that kind of didn't kind of grind you in the story of these two kids.
Yeah. That's fair.
And it did feel a little bit light in terms of the story, and almost felt like the film was kind of catching its breath far too much to let everything sort of sink in. And I'm sure that's the case. That isn't the case, and but watching this film, you can't help but think that we're stalling for time here and there. And in other words, I'm saying this felt like more like a short film.
Yes.
If this was 30 or 40 minutes, I think this would have hit the mark on the same level. But it's a hard subject to kind of tackle. And maybe we wanted to have a little bit more bite of the apple, but maybe it was just losing a little bit of. It needed a little bit more of shock for me to kind of really resonate with the audience members it should resonate with.
Yeah, agreed. I think you're right. It would maybe have worked better as a short film, or if not, then we needed something a little bit more to grasp onto, because there is an element in the film where you kind of see what it's doing, and then there's nothing else to grab onto, is there? So,
but there's great promise. I mean, I think I think both sides of the camera. I think in front of the camera, everyone's performances are really good, really well measured, and I think behind the camera as well. I think there's real promise for a filmmaker that we'll be looking out for in the future and seeing a lot more of. So yeah, it's exciting stuff. I still think it's worth watching. A lot of like our contemporaries or people that you went to the festival with, were really big fans of the film, and I'm just being grumpy. That's all.
No, you're right. It does show a lot of promise, and debut films can be a mixed bag, and it's in terms of capturing a mood, and looking good, and getting the acting and everything else on screen. Everything's kind of working well. It just needs a little bit more to kind of give you a full meal. But shall we move on to our next film that we saw?
What is it, Alex? What is it?
Well, let's talk about She's the He, which I believe. Let me just double check this before I say this. No, it is the directorial debut of Siobhan McCarthy. So, on the last week of school, this is what the film's about. On the last week of school, Alex and Ethan pretend to be trans women to get into the girls' lockers. It's all a joke until Ethan realizes she really is trans. Now Alex and Ethan must reckon with their changing friendship and the messy process of coming out. So what we have here is essentially a trans high school comedy film with representation, LGBTQ representation in front of the screen and behind the screen. And I had a lot of fun with this film. There was part of me that wished I'd been able to catch it at the festival.
Yeah.
We saw it on a screener just prior. It kind of, like, I love high school comedies.
Same.
And it plays on a lot of those tropes, brings it into the modern day. It even is playing on kind of like modern day high school drama stuff. Like there's a lot of Heartstopper in there. with all the kind of colorful kind of illustrations that pop up on the screen and stuff
Yeah,
like that. And it also had, to me, it felt a little bit like an old school
like a
Kevin
John
Smith
Hughes
film.
or
Oh, I was
Kevin
thinking
Smith.
Kevin
Okay.
Smith. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, you're
Yeah,
right.
you were
Actually.
going classy, and I was going Kevin Smith. But I love Kevin Smith, and
Yeah.
and it reminded me of Mallrats. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah.
Mallrats.
No, I'm a big fan of Mallrats. Actually, it's a good film.
No way. Okay, brilliant. I didn't know which Kevin Smith films you had seen and hadn't seen,
Yeah,
so I'm
they're
gonna.
very eclectic. Clerks 2, Mallrats,
Yeah,
and Tusk,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Yeah, Mallrats. It reminded me of Mallrats. Those two friends who are kind of at
Mm,
that period in life where they want different things and how that affects their friendship. And one is taking things a little bit more seriously than the other, who is just kind of having a laugh and being silly and realizing that sometimes that is playing into the friendship. And I think that is what is happening here. And our central relationship here between Alex and Ethan, I think, is what makes this film stand out to me. Because I think the film overall is like a little rough around the edges. Like it is definitely like what you would be like, oh, this is a very indie film. Like it's production, it's a team coming together. It almost seems like a group of friends coming together to make this thing, which is why it gives me those Kevin Smith vibes. And a lot of Kevin Smith films are very kind of rough around the edges as well, but that's kind of why I love them as well. Like, you don't want every film to be squeaky clean, but
mm-hmm.
the roughness detracts from it at times, but it is that central friendship and the amount of heart there that kind of makes this film for me an enjoyable one. And I think with the right audience, you're gonna have a brilliant time. Like, I imagine this played really well at the Prince Charles Cinema. I
Yeah.
realize I've done a lot of talking and haven't let you in
No, no,
to
man. I
review it
think
yourself, Kris.
no, no. You're doing a good job there. I think you're right. I think in the right. I think I wish as well that I didn't sit at home on a screener watching this.
Mm,
I think comedy in general is supposed to be a communal thing, right? It's always supposed to be enjoyed with a bunch of like-minded people, preferably like-minded people, or else it can get pretty awkward. Yeah, like this is like a really colorful, vibrant, sun-kissed comedy. In the mid 2000s when like movies were orange and like in
mm.
a nice way, in a very like sort of like a wonderful way that like an idealistic version of our own world. So we have, yeah, like you said, we have Alex and Ethan who are very, very, it's kind of like Some Like It Hot in a way, this movie as well. The whole premise of trying to sneak in and kind of don these new personas, and then but soon this awakens something in Ethan especially, where she realizes that she's really trans. So basically, Alex and Ethan have to navigate a world full of cliques, jocks, house parties, and all sorts of hijinkses, as they discover who they are before high school ends. Kind of reminded me of Booksmart a little bit in that way too.
Yes, yeah.
So like for me, first off, because I'm with you too. I don't think it's perfect, but I think a lot of fun. First off, and you can tell that everybody behind and in front of the camera, like you said, is having the time of their lives. And special shout out to Misha Osherovich as Ethan, and Nico Carney as Alex, because they both have a really fun dynamic where you can tell that they've been friends for a long time. Alex is a complete lovable goofball, kind of like one I know, and and Ethan, you can tell, is starting to come to like a real crossroad in her life where the juvenile behavior isn't so cute anymore, and is having a lot of questions about her own identity and relationship with her own mother as well. So
Mm.
and it's great. Like it's worth noting that a great majority of this film has like a trans cast, and while we all like to think that there's a much better sense of queer representation in coming of age films like Bottoms, I haven't seen a film ever tackle the trans POV
No.
so head on as this film. And while it's a complete romp and a good time, it's never afraid to slow down and like let its characters have an honest conversation about their experiences, despite like how painful they might be. And some of the latter stages of the film, when Ethan was having conversations with her mother, I felt like that is as true to the experience of what having to be open and ask your parents to accept you as it can be. And it was very painful for me to actually and it came out of nowhere. Painful for me to witness that
Mm.
somebody had to experience that first of all before they could actually be themselves and be um and be accepted by their own family.
Yeah.
And but the movie never loses its tone. It's always
Yes.
going forward. It's always fun. And it's not perfect, and it is a victim of its own budget. Like you said, for example, the high school. I thought the high school felt very empty at times and not
Hmm.
lived in. And like I could tell they were hiring this place out and filming in it, and that kind of extends to most of the locations in the film actually. But like while I had a few chuckles, jokes didn't really land as much as I'd like to, or as much as the film would like to. But the thing that sticks with me is just how cool everybody is in this movie, how much of a labor of love this is, and while I have no doubt that it's a very important film, it will be a very important film for a lot of people and become a cult classic probably. It just needs the distribution it deserves because
Yes.
this could be a film that dies at a festival, and I would hate that to happen. I hope it just
Mm.
kind of works its way throughout the queer community and becomes like a really big film. So it's
It,
it's almost there. It's almost there.
it has the makings of a cult film,
Yeah.
ready to be kind of a late night watch, and hopefully for many people like like you and I, who may have put on these kind of like slightly more risque high school comedy films, hopefully it
Yeah.
becomes that for a younger generation, and for those who are maybe questioning their own identity and need to see somebody like Ethan on the screen who does a lot of soul searching here, and is incredibly kind of confused with her place in the world, and obviously becomes more enlightened as the film goes on. I also want to say I think it's really funny that they pretend to be trans women to get into the obviously one of them by the end of the film is only pretending to be a trans woman to get into
Yeah.
the locker room, and so much of the discourse especially in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in America, but probably is this idea that trans people are using this identity to enter women's spaces, and I love that they kind of poke fun at that just being like a ridiculous idea in the first place. Yeah, I think it was funny. They kind of it's kind of poked fun at quite a lot in the film, I think, and I quite like that. It made light of it in a way, in
Yeah,
a, in
man.
a way that is a little bit risky, but I think works.
No, I think you're right. I think it does strike balances very well. It's a funny film experience because in the moment you're like, I chuckled here and there, like every 10 minutes I kind of had a little chuckle to myself, but I wasn't laughing. But then once I've stepped away from the film, and as the days have kind of gone by, I'm kind of thinking of it quite fondly. I'm
Mm,
kind of a lot of the imagery is staying with me. A lot of those characters have stayed with me, and it was kind of just nice company to be in
mm.
for an hour and a half. So yeah, I recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I chat to anybody at the festival about it, I only heard good things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think seeing it with a crowd would have been a lot of fun.
Well,
Would have been.
I've seen on Letterboxd certain people just kind of react to the film being like, oh my goodness, I needed this film 10 years ago. I needed this film right now, and that's really
Yeah,
great that can fill that void for so many people. So yeah, great.
100%, 100%. Should we move on to the next film?
Yes. What's that
Yes.
film? I forgot. I've got amnesia.
So, this is Blue Heron,
Yeah,
from director Sophie Rumvari. Again, a directorial feature film debut.
sure.
But Sophie has, I believe, from what I was hearing from other people talk about her as well at the festival, has done a lot of work in short films and almost focuses a lot on memory, which plays a big
Yes.
part in
I,
this film.
I've heard that too. A lot of people who've came out and been quite positive or involved or even just completely new to her have mentioned that this is sort of a project that it feels like she's been building towards for quite a while, and
Mm,
this is like the final arrival of the fully conceived idea. So yeah.
yeah. This one I saw in the cinema, which I was very
Oh,
happy to be able to do. And then Kris, yourself, you saw it via a screener. It is set in the late 1990s. A family of six settle into their new home on Vancouver Island, which In our preview episode, I said it was one of the reasons I wanted to see this film because it was set on Vancouver Island, which is where my brother used to live. That is not as big a deal in the film, even though it looks like where my brother used to live.
There's a lot of appreciation of the landscape in this movie.
Yes,
100%.
100%. But through the youngest child, the internal dynamics of the family are slowly kind of revealed, and one of the I believe it's the eldest child of the family, Jeremy, is displaying some pretty, I don't know what you would say, like erratic behaviors, disruptive behaviors.
It begins that way, and it becomes increasingly dangerous behavioral issues that kind of display themselves, but it's not just that. There's hints of there's lovely moments too, but
Yes.
the real crux of the thing is Sasha, the younger version of our main character, who's looking back at her childhood, is observing how her parents handled the situation with Jeremy, and it's also a film about her trying to understand and re-witness the whole affair and see what went wrong. What could anybody have done better?
Yes.
If could anybody have done any better?
Because we even look into the authorities and like
diagnosis,
with modern day understanding. How would people go back and do things differently? It's really interesting because it doesn't. You don't necessarily know that it is going to go that way, and I don't think us talking about it is too much of a spoiler, but it is interesting to go from this film that feels very much just like a film about a family into something that is really retrospective, insanely like it feels insanely personal. I don't actually know if it is a personal story to Sophie Rumvari herself, but like it feels really intimate. It feels like you're peering in on somebody's life and this kind of childhood trauma they have, and really trying to unwrap it. Structurally, emotionally, I just felt like I'd never seen anything like this before. Like I was really just kind of blown away by the whole thing. Did you feel similarly?
Yeah, I mean, up to a certain point anyway, and the film, I suppose the biggest contemporary comparison you could give a film like this, the first thing you do think of is Aftersun, right?
Yeah. I've heard people say that. Yeah.
In terms of a filmmaker making her first big feature film debut, but feels something that it feels authentically personal and like you shouldn't be peering in on something that's so personal to this person. And it's a film that. Yeah, no, go ahead. It's fine.
Are you sure? All right. I was going to say, I do feel like the comparisons to Aftersun are there, but I do feel this film is a lot more almost like academic,
100%.
researched and layered in a way. And that isn't taken away from Aftersun. Aftersun's a completely different beast, and that absolutely floored me in a way that this film floored me as well. But there was just something so, I don't know, I almost wanted to say that it was like a podcast, like those kind of docu-series podcasts. Like Serial did a good job of it. I know that was more like crime and stuff like that. I feel like S-Town, if anybody's ever listened to S-Town, like these kind of docu podcasts that really kind of weave a very good story that it could almost be narrative, but also is so kind of analytical and speaking to experts and all this kind of stuff. It was like an adaptation of one of those in the second half of the film anyway, come to life, but also, it is still a drama. It's not a documentary, and it doesn't present itself at any moment as being a documentary, but like it just feels like that. It felt analytical in a way.
Yeah, I think I think you bring up a really good point, actually, and I think we have to discuss the differences. Like the latter half of the film sort of needs to be discussed to really have an interesting conversation about the relationship the film has with itself and Sasha's, our main character, her current stance as an adult, looking back at her brother's, increasingly dangerous behavior and her parents' well-meaning exhaustion of trying to do the best for their son, but also protect the rest of their children, and the dilemma that poses. But when we are suddenly thrust into modern day and Sasha is an adult now and a filmmaker making a documentary which is attempting to unravel and reconcile what happened to her parents and her brother, and there's this sort of just like pulsating ache behind Sasha, which straddles such a fine line between anger, regret, vulnerability, and affection for everybody in her life. And it's such an interesting point that you made, that it feels academic, because yes, she is quite an academic person, but this is like part of the film's facade. It's her barrier that she's put up against herself. And and it's amazing that this film can wrestle all these emotions in such a vivid way, and utilize some of the most delicate filmmaking, such memorable images, these slow zooms in the first half of the film that kind of feel like Sasha's eyes documenting her own memories. So peeking in to have a closer look to see if there was something that she was missing all along. But and it doesn't feel overt, because we don't kind of have this realization until we have the second half of the film. It's so interesting. Whenever we first meet her as an adult, she's setting up a meeting with various other child behavioral experts and getting their opinion on the case, but she never advertises to them that it's her own family. She says, oh, this was a boy and this is the family, and she's got that guard up constantly. And it's not till later on in the film, after she has a Zoom call with the woman who was assigned to her brother, that she just lets the guard down as soon as the call ends, and all the emotions are let out at once. And it's very powerful. I mean, it hasn't got the overt highs and lows of something like After Sun, but because it feels so authentic, and it feels like somebody trying to keep it together the whole way, that it's so raw come the end of the movie. It's a fantastic film. I really hope it does really well. And I hope it's a film that I can discuss with other people outside of the podcast, outside of the listeners, because it is fascinating. And I'm really looking forward to watching it again. I'm so jealous you got to see it in the cinema.
Oh man, it really did help, because I know a lot of the people around me had been given screeners also, but I was like, no, I want to see this. I want to see this in the cinema, and I'm really glad I did. But it also meant that there had been a few people outside of the festival who had seen the film, and then obviously people in the screening as well. And it was one of the only screenings where, like, afterwards, as I came out, like, somebody was just like, what did you think? Like, just randomly started chatting to me. I don't even know who that person is, but it was quite nice. We were going down the escalator together and just chatting about the film. And I thought, yeah, this is what films are supposed to do. And I think it was so unique in its approach. Like, I think all of us, as far as I'm aware, everybody was very positive on this. But I think even if you weren't, you can't deny that there is something special going on in how this film is even just approaching being a film. It was really special.
There's no phoniness here, and it's just pure honesty, isn't it? Incredible film. Man, I wish I saw it in the cinema. I feel bad for myself.
You might get the chance. You might get the chance, Kris.
I might get the chance.
Keep an eye on it, because I think this might come up a few times in the future in terms of, discussing.
One last note. I love the film anyway, but then the film ends on a Daniel Johnston song, and I'm like, it's like one of my favorite artists of all time. You don't hear much in films.
Okay,
so I was happy to hear that. So so that turned me into a puddle by the end.
Nice.
Full, like, of the three that I managed to catch up with. I know, pathetic. We were supposed to talk about number one today. Sorry, Alex. But that was by far, spoke to me the most. It was an incredible film. I'm so glad that was available to watch at home.
And the power of kind of the festival circuit and that nature is, like, I hadn't heard of this film before. No. I don't believe you had really heard of this film before. And now we get to see it and kind of hopefully promote it in a way that more people will see it when they get the chance to be able to watch it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, really liked it. Shall we move on, I guess, to maybe some films that I've seen? I don't want to go into any of these too much, because I feel like we will probably chat about some of these in the future. And then some of them I would just like to touch on in terms of just kind of giving you a general sense and idea of the experience and some of the interesting stuff. Was there any film you wanted me to talk about?
I was going to say, I want to get out of the way. It's the one I want to watch more than... I'll give up 6 months of my life to see this film. I want to hear you talk about Hamnet, because I guess really briefly, without spoiling, obviously, because this is going to be a big... it's going to be a big awards film that a lot of people are going to be catching up with in January, myself included. And having seen Chloe Zhao's other work, except for The Eternals, I think that's a weird one to not have seen.
Catch up with it. I think it's a good pairing.
Yeah, I need to. And did this feel like she was returning to her earlier work when you saw Hamnet, or was it like simply her honing the craft on a bigger level and a more dynamic scale?
Well, yes and no. It is. I feel like Chloe Zhao has never moved away from telling stories about human emotion. It's just that, like, increasingly with each film, it is on a bigger scale. But then again, maybe it peaked at Eternals, which is this big world universe. Like in terms of the scale, Don't worry, Eternals isn't my favorite, but it is. I still think it's a fantastic film that feels like a Chloe Zhao film because of the themes that she's trying to work with. This brings it down a little bit, but it's still not. It's still not like Nomadland and
The Rider.
The Rider. It's not like those. It is a different beast again. Like, it doesn't feel like she's taking real life characters like she has done in not characters, but real life people and inserting them into these stories. And like, she is using actors here. I
think Frances McDormand and Nomadland was like the first actor that she ever used. Yeah.
But like, it feels, again, I feel like Chloe Zhao is like the humanist director. She understands the full scope of humanity, the spectrum of emotion in a way that no other director is truly like been able to capture. And she's just very unique. I'm struggling to put it into words, but
her films don't look like anybody else's too.
No, she just understands humans, and she gets them, and she's able to portray them. This is an odd choice for her in a way. She's an American, an Asian American, who's taking a quintessentially British or English film about William Shakespeare, based on a historical fiction book. So obviously there's a lot of playing with that story and sense.
Didn't the book only come out in 2020?
2020, yeah. I think it like released as the pandemic started. But then also all the actors in Hamnet are Irish. So, there's that as well. Or at least our main leads. So, yeah, Asian American, English story, Irish actors.
Sounds great.
Do you know what? It's a match made in heaven. Yeah, honestly, this was like the film of the festival for me. It might be film of the year for me. And I'm not even like a big Shakespeare person. It deals with so this is true. Shakespeare had a son called Hamnet who passed away, and then he also wrote a play called Hamlet. And I don't know the author of the book off the top of my head, but they are trying to weave in this idea that Hamlet was almost not an inspiration, but also a way of healing. Like the whole thing led from one to another, and that's how we came to the masterpiece known as Hamlet.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're talking about Tudor period and like history. Although we know so much about his plays, like history is semi-sketchy on the personal life of Shakespeare. So the dramatization of him and his relationship with his wife is obviously like a fictionalized account. Doesn't mean make it any less more interesting, but yeah. So it's a imagined perspective.
Yes, yeah, and it is a beautiful story, but also, like, I say beautiful, but it's also like incredibly tragic, as we've mentioned. It obviously does feature child death, but it is this kind of rich, complex web of human emotion, lust and love, death, grief, healing, and a theme that came out of a couple of the films within the London Film Festival this year was like art as a conduit for healing and how that works. She just like lets the camera linger on some really uncomfortable scenes at times. You are witnessing some kind of really intimate scenes as well. Paul Mescal, Jessie Buckley playing our kind of lead couple here. You really kind of get to know them in a very deep and personal way, all kind of on top of this idea that we're in this period of time that maybe we don't see that often on film as well. So there's all that kind of historical nature and politics and all that kind of stuff going into it. Yeah, I think a lot of people did. I cried at this film in a room full of strangers, you know, and it really was, it kind of reminded me what cinema was all about, because as much as you're crying out of tragedy, you're also like crying out of going on this ride of human emotion. I keep saying this, a ride of human emotion. Just somebody take that and put it on the poster. But like
So,
the idea that I felt almost like I'd gone through therapy by the end, like I was healing from like something I was sad about an hour ago. You know what I mean? Like it just, the whole thing is just so powerful, and it works. And the music, I can't remember who did the score right now. Who did the score? It is a beautiful score, and I can't get access to it other than one song right now, and I'm looking forward to that score coming out. I'm just looking it up right now. Max Richter, that's it. Beautiful,
Right, okay.
beautiful score. Yeah, even that one, because I went in having watched the trailer once a long time ago, so I thought, oh, now that I've seen it, I'm gonna watch the trailer again, after the film. So I watched it at home on my laptop, and I teared up watching the trailer.
Wow.
So
Okay,
that tells you
just
something.
for the
So
memory.
yeah. So yeah.
Max Richter, he did the score, very interesting score, I remember, for Ad Astra. And Hostiles, did you ever see that Western with Christian Bale? That had
No, I didn't actually know.
The best part of the film was its music, because I think Max Richter actually invented an instrument for that movie. Yeah, so fascinating too. So yeah, I have no doubt that that's going to be at least a very experimental or beautiful, sumptuous musical score in the background. I mean, it has to be for like a period set Chloe Zhao Hamnet film. So like, yeah, it sounds great, man. And I can tell you're like bursting at the seams. Sometimes we get a film that comes around like that really hits us really hard, and you know, quite the irony watching a Shakespeare film that words fail us. No, but
it's a web of human emotion.
No, incredible, man. I mean, you've sold me. I'm in the pocket for the stuff already. Just to know that you are a little bit of like a, not like the personal life of Shakespeare, but a Shakespeare sort of skeptic in terms of like not like resonating with some of the plays as much as other people. To have you come away with this experience is incredible. It's like when you give Singing in the Rain 5 stars. I thought I used up one of my monkey paws or something. Like,
yeah. Do you know, and I want to read Hamnet now.
I do.
Who knows? Maybe one day I'll read Hamlet.
Yeah,
I might have already done it at school. I can't really remember. It was the one where I was like, and this shows you as well, you don't need to know the play Hamlet going in, even though there are lots of bits in the film. Like there are like, and it probably is some of the weaker elements, because even I noticed it, where they kind of do something and it's like, oh, that's Hamlet.
Wow.
That's part of the play.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's how he must have gotten that idea. Like it's a little bit like Han Solo getting his name, but not as bad.
Well, people should just rewatch The Lion King.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, you don't need to know it. It plays a part into it. I'm sure if you are bigger into the Shakespeare plays, specifically Hamlet, you're probably going to get even more out of this than I did. But I
lore.
Yeah, exactly, the lore of Shakespeare,
Easter eggs back in those days. Yeah.
Whereas I was just like there for a really kind of touching and personal story. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about it because we're gonna get into.
You've
this.
done a good job. Appetite is well and truly wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just sad that I think it's the 9th of January it comes out in the UK.
I know. I'll be a different person by then.
I know. It's so annoying because there's no way it doesn't make it on my top 10 of the year. So I have to talk about this again at some point with you before you've seen it.
You dare another film to overstep Hamnet. You dare.
And I'm sad because I could probably guarantee it would make your top 10. So, but I guess it won't.
We'll see.
Because,
yeah, he knows.
Maybe you got. Can you travel
like,
to America?
What?
Can you travel to America? comes out on Thanksgiving there, which I'm not sure when that is, but it's definitely this year.
It seems like a completely worthwhile investment. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I spent a lot of money on an Airbnb to go quote this film earlier.
You spent so much money for a kitchen you didn't use.
Don't remind me. Don't remind me. Anyway, I wanted to touch on a few other films that I saw there, but I don't want to go again. I don't want to go too in depth. But I did see the new Joachim Trier film, Sentimental Value.
Yeah.
Where he's reteamed with Renat Rensive again, and this time with Stellan Skarsgård. Elle Fanning plays a part in this. Inga Ibstador Lilias also plays Renat's sister in the film. Beautiful, beautiful film. Very different to The Worst Person in the World.
Right.
But almost like reading a novel where you have these multiple different storylines. And at first you're like, how do these all play into each other? And there's also a storyline with the main character's house. Like the house plays a character in a way. It's very interesting. You've got all these little pieces, and slowly throughout the film they weave into this bigger narrative. And I say bigger, it's not like it is a very kind of personal narrative and about filmmaking. And again, this was another one of those films that's about kind of art as a conduit for healing. It's another big thing. I don't want to talk too much about it, but this, it floored me as well. Not as big an emotional wallop as The Worst Person in the World, but just like you're watching something which you just like, this is a fantastic film. And I love everything that it's saying, and I'm moved by it. I might not be like, oh, I'm crying like I was at Hamnet, or even at The Worst Person in the World, but you're just like, by the end, you're like, again, I've been through something.
Yeah. Well, I hate to go back on something menial, but the house. you said the house. What are you saying? The house? The house is sentient.
The house is sentimental. Are you the title?
Because a lot of people will say, like, you know, when you're watching like a film about, I don't know, like a city, like set in a city, you're like, oh, the city's like a character, but it's not. That's not. You're saying like this is actually a character.
No, I am saying it in the way that people would be like, New York was a character in that. I am saying it in that way. There is a central house in this film.
I wanted it to be like Monster House, where the house had eyes and shit.
Yeah, I mean, from the very start, it's very much like the house. You'll know when you see it. You'll know when you see it.
Stop asking questions.
Yeah, I don't want to go too much into it, but again, really, really powerful film. I think you're gonna love it as well. I don't know when that one comes out in the UK, but
I think it is before. I think it's before January anyway.
Yeah, I would say definitely go and see that one. It was my second favorite film of the festival.
Okay,
UK cinema release December the 26th, Boxing Day.
Oh, close. So obviously, The Worst Person in the World really kind of found an audience broadly, even outside of the awards circuit. And do you think the same can be said about Sentimental Value, or is this is much more specific type of film that might not strike the same reception as his last movie? Do you think it's still going to be like, you know, people are going to be picking off the Criterion shelf this time next year? You know,
that's a good question. It is.
Follow-ups can be tricky that way. I know that.
Yeah, So, I think there is something to be said about that emotional coming of age story, especially because it was like a coming of age almost at the end of your 20s story in The Worst Person in the World, which resonated with so many people. Will this resonate with so many people? I don't know, but also at the same time, he is a lot more confident as a filmmaker here. Like, this is the best his filmmaking has been, and the way everything weaves together, and be that sound, cinematography, and it is also a film about filmmaking as well, which always seems to go down well in the Hollywood world. So potential, Oscars, blah blah blah. I don't know. I think it's a really accessible film, and I think it's a really strong film. I could see this. I could see this playing out. Maybe not as well as The Worst Person in the World, but like
pretty
not
close.
far behind. I think a lot of people will see this and love it.
Excited for that one too, Alex.
I think it won the big award at Cannes, didn't it? Which Anora won last year. So that goes to show you maybe where it will head.
Interesting. Alex, what do we got next?
I'm going to go for my third favorite, and then I'm going to jump around to a few other ones.
Sure.
So my third favorite film of the festival was probably my most enjoyable cinema experience of the festival, and this was I called them a Belgian duo in the preview film. I actually got a lot wrong in that preview film in that preview episode when I think back to it. There's a lot that we said and I said that just, but I guess that's the thing, trying to go in without too much knowledge of the film, but also like
there's also because we're in pre-release for films that have yet to have complete exposure. There is significantly little information about them online, and
Do you know what one thing that stuck out to me, and I don't want to talk about this film too much because I think I would have to talk more in depth with you once you've seen it, is No Other Choice, the Park Chan-wook film. But you mentioned something on the preview. You said lots of bees.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for that, and I don't think there were any bees.
Fuck. I could have sworn I saw the trailer and there's a lot of bees.
I'm gonna have to go and watch the trailer because I never even watched the trailer. I just went in like
I was just watching the trailer for Jason Statham's Beekeeper.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that film, but a lot of them revolve around the ending. So I need to wait for you to see that one. Like, there's no point me even talking about it here properly. Well, I liked it. It's not my favorite festival, but I liked it.
Sincerely apologize, but I will say I probably behind Hamnet. Right. I'm bringing this back to normality here. I'm going to redeem myself. But similar to Hamnet, I think I'm equally as excited for this film. I would also lose 6 months of my life for this too. I know I'm a big Park Chan-wook fan. To the best of my knowledge, I'm pretty sure I'm a completionist on him. But I find his movies deliriously so exquisitely made, so gorgeously conceived, Hitchcockian, beautiful art direction, twisted, funny. It just showcases some of the best of South Korean cinema. And like anytime, I'm so glad that he's as prolific as he is and working as much as he is, because, any of his films none of his films I've seen so far at least haven't been at least a gift. So I am excited. Cautiously excited.
It's a filmmaker's film. Like it is like really well made. It's like watching a director so in control of the camera and movement and speed and tone, everything. It's really good. I gave it 4 stars. I'm positive on it, but a lot of people around me loved it. Like there was a lot of love for this film, and I couldn't reach those heights.
Yeah,
but I did really like it. So
I think you felt similar with his last movie as well, didn't you?
Was that Decision to Leave, wasn't it? Which we saw together.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot more than Decision to Leave.
Okay,
because I was a little bit mixed, I think, on Decision to Leave, if I remember rightly. Do you remember that?
I think I do. I think I remember coming out. I really liked the film a lot, and I'm due a revisit of it too, because it's quite a labyrinthian film, and I think that is his most Hitchcockian film, and it's a little bit of a fun puzzle to kind of sink your fingers into. But yeah, I can't say it's been a while since release, but I remember really liking it at the time. I think it's my favorite.
I don't remember it too much. I just remember being a bit more mixed, and I'm mixed on elements of this, but I did like it.
Did you see all of his Vengeance trilogy back in the day?
Yeah.
What kind of one spoke to you the most? And everybody says Old Boy, and sometimes 90% of people, I think it's the only one they've watched at the free.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now. Let me just, because the Old Boy was probably my favorite in terms of just like the most fun, and I think it's probably the first one that people.
The shock value of that film too.
Yeah,
is crazy.
I'm just trying to think. All right, so Old Boy, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and Lady Vengeance. I feel like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance was my second favorite.
Yeah, Lady Vengeance, I would say, is a worth a rewatch. It's probably my favorite Park Chan-wook film. That movie is just like, that movie's dark. That's really good.
Yeah.
But Old Boy is a
strive away from being dark. There is no doubt about that. So
yeah, okay. Well, excited to see that too.
No bees. Anyway, I wasn't going to touch on that one, but
that's probably why you were like, you give it a little bit less review. Like, you were just on edge waiting for bees.
Into the last 5 minutes, like, where are the fucking bees?
It's like a final.
What was going to happen?
It's a final boss set piece with bees. Yeah. I am so sorry. Well,
you're all good. I said a lot of wrong things. I said a lot of wrong things during that preview. as I was trying to say, Reflection in a Dead Diamond.
Mm.
French duo filmmakers, but they relocated to Belgium, and so it's like a Belgian-French production. So the directors are Helene Catet and Bruno Forzani. I mentioned I had watched one of their previous films called Let the Corpses Tan, and that was with a bunch of friends in Bristol, and I was kind of taken aback by just how kind of like visceral the filmmaking was and how interesting it was. And it was almost like exactly the same here, but on a big screen and really playing in the world of genre, spy genre, James Bond, Mission Impossible, European spy dramas, just gorgeously stylistic, not one boring moment in it. Even the opening credits, they do this thing where they like the title comes up on the screen, you see a boat in the water, and then the camera drags you down through the water, and the names of everybody who's in the film are like going up, but almost in blood, and like the sound as you're being ripped through the water is just like so ears, like it's in your ears. It's just like
Wow.
it was crazy, and then it doesn't let up. It was the most fun I had in terms of like watching a film in the cinema, and I felt very like privileged to be able to watch it in the cinema as well, because I don't think any of their films have had like a wide release. And I was doing a little bit of like research into like when can Kris see this film essentially, and I think
Whoa.
Shudder are gonna take it on, and I think Shudder have taken it on.
Okay.
I don't think it's got, if I remember rightly, it might be coming out by the end of the year.
Is
But
this
I'm
going to be like
sad.
a late night movie for Alex and Kris?
Yeah, I would 100% watch this again. It is so much fun. I think
What?
you would love it. I really wish you got the chance, and maybe you will. I hope you get the chance to see it in the cinema, because it is just so. It's bonkers. It's beautiful. It's gruesome. It just never, not a boring moment. Like if they can play with the camera, they do, and you just see some things you've never seen on film before. You see spy stuff in a way you've never seen on film before, and it's all like weaves into kind of clothing and gadgets, and just
Yeah, like I'm looking at this
insane.
visually, and it's a complete like throwback to the early Bond, like the Sean Connery Bond visual style.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah, yeah,
but even the poster looks crazy, man.
yeah.
This looks like some Hong Kong film. Looks great.
If
Yeah.
there's any film I need to push, from this festival, it's
Mm,
this. And maybe the voice of Hind Rajab for kind of its importance. But like Reflection in a Dead Diamond is just so much fun and just so batshit crazy. And like you get to the end, and you're like, I don't know, like if I understood everything I just watched, and I still don't know 100% what. Like I think I was chatting with Max after the film, like so. Was it this? Was it that? And I was like, oh, I thought it was more this. I thought it was more that. And like we still didn't
that's
have
not
a.
a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. We just didn't have a full comprehension on what the film was trying to do with its main characters, and it was just. But we both came away being like, wow, you
Shit,
don't
need
see
to watch that.
filmmaking like that.
I can
Yeah.
see Maria de Medeiros is in it as well, and she's everybody knows her from Pulp Fiction, the Blueberry Pancakes lady.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see. I didn't know that. There you go. Didn't even know
yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what? If you don't get a chance to watch it in the cinema, I think this is a late night watch. You and me.
Get it booked. Shutter.
I would touch on a couple quickly. I just want to
Yep.
mention this one because Mark Jenkins' latest film,
Mm.
Rose of Nevada, it's a Cornish film. You're living in Cornwall. I've lived in Cornwall. I want to talk about it. Have you seen any of his films? I can't remember what we discussed in the preview.
So yeah, this is the third feature film from Mark Jenkin. I have to admit, I need to do a double bill because I didn't see Bait. I didn't see Ennis Men. Despite living
Hmm.
in the county that these films are set, and despite being a pretty big cult hits, so shame on me. This is this film Rose in Nevada seems to be being really well received as well, and so far it's his first time working with big stars like George Mackay and Callum
Hmm.
Turner.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did you think of it?
I loved it. I loved it. And it
Mm.
was like my third film in the day, and I was getting a little bit tired. And it's one of those films that's really kind of like quite trippy. So
Well,
I've
he's quite
only seen.
experimental, isn't he? Yeah.
It is, yeah, like it does feel very similar to Bait. It is probably his most accessible film. So I haven't seen Ennis Man or Ennis Main. I can't remember how it's pronounced. But that is
Which
even
is
more
his yeah.
trippy. Whereas I think here he's kind of gone slightly more back to bait in terms of, and I'm only saying this from like what I've heard about the other film because I haven't seen it, but I need to now catch up with it. But like slightly going back to that kind of like fisherman town. We want to say something about the changing coast of Cornwall and the community that are there, and just like how times have really changed Cornwall in a way. And this has got a bit of a time travel element to it as well. And it's just pure Cornish, really wet nightmare fuel.
Wow.
Like, it is so good. And it takes a little bit of time to get going. But as soon as they jump on the boat, where a lot of the film is set, on this fisherman's boat, in the sea, sometimes at night, with storms raging, and Mark Jenkins does really interesting stuff with the sound. Like, he's very much on, like, making the sound almost like it's almost like blatantly recorded. Like, he's really playing with it. Like, the whole film is really experimenting with the fact that it's filmed on 16mm film. It's recorded in a certain way. And all of this, like, just gives it its own unique, like, viewpoint, or just like unlike anything you've seen. And it feels rough, but like so focused on what it wants to be. Like, it's not rough. I'm not Shakespeare today.
It's not rough. It's not smooth. It's what's in the middle?
I don't know.
It's suede.
Suede. It is pure suede. It's pure suede. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. And,
I know what you mean. There's like I can't say much. I haven't seen Bait, and I haven't seen Ennis Man or Ennis Man, but I've seen many clips, and there's something like very Polaroid about his films, and very and very like it's almost like a really shoddy 100-euro photograph that's coming desperately trying to like be developed and come to life. And there's like a really interesting visual style that he has. And yeah, like, you know, it was very interesting when you see these filmmakers take a little bit of a step up and see what they can do with a little bit more money and a little bit more investment. And it's also really cool that like there's not much Cornish representation in cinema. If it is, it's very tiny. And usually it's like, oh, we're making a quaint drama or a Poldark or something like that. And it's
there's
like,
nothing quaint.
Cool to have something that's a bit edgy by Cornwall too, yeah.
I agree. There's nothing quaint about this. I think that's what I like about it, is that it could just be like a bulk
fisherman's
standard
friend.
fisherman's a with a slight kind of time travel element to it that kind of like, like you could have fun with it, but like it isn't. It's like this thing. It feels dirty and wet and gritty, and like I could reach out and touch it in a way. Like, it's really experimental but also accessible. I had a lot of fun with it. Definitely think people should check this one out when it comes out. I've loved. I need to catch up with Ennis Main, but I love Bait, and this one is just like a little bit behind Bait for me. But then again, maybe I look back more fondly on Bait. I don't know. I was just fascinated by it. So definitely go watch that.
We'll book a Cornish double bill one night too, Alex. We'll do that.
Hell yeah, we should go watch this. We should watch this in a cinema in Cornwall, you and me. We should figure that out. So the only film I saw in a public screening, and this film made me wish that I had seen more films in public screenings, and if you are able to come next year, Kris, and I'm going to curate like a perfect like few days for you that is a mix of press screenings and public screenings, because there is something else to this, and you've got to go see a film in the Prince Charles Cinema. And this is kind of the only reason I booked this film, because it was on a day I was working my real job. Boo. So I went to the Prince Charles Cinema afterwards to watch More Life, which again is, I believe, a feature directorial debut from Bradley Banton. And as you get with a lot of the films when you're watching a public screening, especially when it's their first screening, the cast and the crew are there, and they get to introduce the film, and then you get to watch the film with them, and then you get to, obviously there's a Q&A afterwards, and you get to discuss the film with them. And I think that really like enhances the experience, because More Life is a film that is framed like an Instagram live the whole time. It's a portrait. It's a vertical. Yeah, it's a full vertical the whole time, with comments coming up underneath like the whole time, because that is how it is like portrayed, or framed, should I say. But it's like a really chill hangout film as well. You're really hanging out with these guys. It's not long. It's like 78 minutes. It's a group of friends who've gone to Copenhagen to celebrate one of them having an art show there.
Okay.
Nice. But it's really chill. You really do, like, it's quite intimate. Like, you really feel like you're like the fifth friend in this group almost.
Right. The one that doesn't say much.
Yeah, the one that doesn't say much. And like throughout the film, you get this, there's like cracks appearing in the friendship a little bit, but like at the end of the day, not much really happens. But I had such a good time, and seeing it with an audience, and it was definitely, especially like to the like far left of me, I think it was like friends and family as well, because a lot of them at the end were asking questions like, I know you, but I'm gonna ask you a question anyway, and just like the whole audience was having so much fun. But I was thinking, like, I came out of it thinking like, I'm not sure if this would translate well watching this by myself. And actually, Kris, you could have a chance, because I believe it is on the online play, and
Yeah,
I'd be
I
really
did see
interested to know what you think of it.
Okay.
Because I was like, I wonder if I would have loved this film as much without an audience. Because it definitely felt like the way to watch it. Because when you're laughing along with a group of people about a friendship group that feels so connected, feels so real, and everybody in that group is, there's in-jokes and little, there's just like moments of like just so much fun that you recognize it from your own friendship groups, that you're just like, yeah, I just feel like I'm hanging out with friends right now. And I don't know if I could recreate that experience sitting at home on my laptop.
Oh, wow.
So will it translate? I don't know. But I bloody loved it. And Bradley Banton came onto the stage afterwards and was talking about the process of making the film. He'd been writing it for a while, like collaborating on like how to do this film, but they shot it in 2 days. And he was like, I went to Copenhagen because I was just like, it'd be cool to go to Copenhagen. And like every filmmaker tells you to like just pick up your phone and start filming something. And he was like, well, we did, all right. And it is difficult, but like we did. And here we are premiering at the London Film Festival. You think, yeah, fair play. This is the ode to like make a film with your friends. Pick up your phone. And I was like, yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. He did something really interesting with it. And it's fun and it feels real.
To play devil's advocate, how about like the cinematic like aspect of, I am skeptical about vertical filmmaking in general, and what it can potentially can hold for the future of cinema. Did that kind of take down that barrier for you, if you even had it at all to begin with, or did you come out of that pretty positive?
So with this, because it's like a live stream and you get the comments popping up, there's an element of like some of the comedy comes from the comments. Right. And you're constantly jumping between reading some stuff and watching the film. And sometimes you're trying to figure out like, what is more interesting right now? Like, should I be watching or should I be reading? So that changes it slightly. And then you kind of fall into that format that you kind of forget that it isn't widescreen. I think if you took the comment element away, you'd just be like, you're restricting yourself. I guess
that's the classic vertical show that exists now. It's a format of a show that, like, for anybody that doesn't know, it's like watching something, but it's not no comments. It's just like you're watching a TV show, but it is in that phone shaped format, right?
So I'm not like a convert to vertical films. But because of the way it's framed, like it is almost,
it's like searching, searching or missing.
Yeah,
kind of like that thing.
It's more like you're so aware that you are the audience, but at the same time, it's so intimate. You feel like, oh, I'm joining the live stream of like this group of friends that I've been fans of for a long time, despite the fact that I knew none of them going in, and I don't think the idea is that you're supposed to know them or anything like that, but like there's an intimacy that comes from that. Okay. It works. I don't think anybody's watching.
This is like making me want to put this on tomorrow.
But yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, you've got 2 films that you should still catch up on despite not watching them for this episode, Kris. But you should watch Lucky Lou, the Bicycle Thieves, almost like modern day adaptation. Really, really love that film. And More Life is a lot of fun as well. Can I finish on one final film with a that had like quite an interesting cinematic experience for me as well?
Absolutely.
it was it might have been my final, yeah, I think it was my final film in person at the festival, and it was one that we kind of chatted about prior to this as well, because of kind of like the more difficult subject matter. But it's the voice of Hind Rajab, which is the I don't know if it is a Palestinian film, but it is obviously with Palestinian actors and about Palestine. And again, in that preview episode, I said that Hind Rajab was a real kind of victim of the genocide in Gaza, and she was 11. She's not 11. She's 6. So it's even more harrowing in a way. Not that age makes a difference. But like, fucking hell. So the film utilizes real life voice recordings of her after she's in her family's car and the car gets shot at and her family are all dead. I believe it's more like cousins and uncles, and she's left in the car, and some way she's able to get through to the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, which is a charity which is able to kind of essentially, through different means, get ambulances out to different areas within Gaza to support people that need it. But there's so much kind of red tape that you need to go through. So you need to speak to the Red Cross, who are therefore speaking to the IDF, who are the people who have shot the car, and trying to get a like, I think they call it like a green flag or the green light to kind of map a safe path to a certain area. And obviously Hind is not the only person who needs help, and it's also trying to understand where she is and is it safe for an ambulance to go into. And you would, and it's a dramatized film, but uses the real life recordings that she makes to the Red, I'm going to say the Red Crescent Society. Actually, let me double check that.
Well, while you're checking that, just for the record, it is primarily actually a Tunisian funded film with French and United States input.
There you go. All right, so it's the Palestine Red Crescent Society.
Okay.
You have already kind of got the audience on board with real life voice recordings.
It's a devastating situation.
Devastating, tragic story. You would be kind of, unless a filmmaker would be like, and now I'll make something with it, and, I'll have the audience in the palm of my hand.
You could ham it up to hell high, yeah.
You could ham it up to hell high. Do whatever you want with it. Like, the audience are going to be sad either way. But the director, Katua Ben Hania, does a really good job of making this not just like an interesting film, but a really accessible film. Like, this is a film, despite its subject matter, that you could put on for your parents or something like that. Like, because at the end of this day, when I'm sitting in the cinema with a bunch of people who know a little bit about this film, are probably liberally minded and are aware of the genocide and all that kind of stuff that goes with it, you're kind of preaching to the choir. And this film needs more eyes on it in terms of kind of like trying to tell other people about the devastation that happens here.
Sure.
And the pure frustration of that whole global
the unfairness
tragedy.
Of the
situation. The unfairness of it. It is really difficult to talk about, but like the accessibility of it really surprised me. And I want to put this in a way that doesn't make it sound slight or even like take away from the tragedy. But if you were to take the real life story away from it and the seriousness of it, you'd be like, this is a really good thriller.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's so, like, I'm trying not to sound bad when I say it, but like,
I know what you're saying. You could show it to people who aren't part of the quote unquote choir. Because it's just naturally, it lets the point free. It's not exploitational, but it is also entertaining. As a form of media, it flows in a way that's I mean, entertaining is not the word, but it's captivating.
Captivating. That is the word. It is captivating. You are almost put in only kind of like one step forward into like our own understanding of the Gaza the Gaza situation, because we are only able to see like bits and pieces. There's a media blackout over there, and I know there has since been some form of ceasefire, but whatever. It's an ongoing thing. It's been ongoing for a long time. But obviously we're only able to kind of imagine almost how bad it is. I know there's footage out there that you can watch, but like for the majority of us, we can only imagine how bad it is. And the film doesn't really show you what's going on. You're within this call center. You're with 1, 2, 3 characters, maybe 4 at a push, who are actively speaking to this young girl, and it's really powerful. It's really powerful, and the whole film itself acts as a metaphor in a way for the whole crisis, the whole genocide, because it is this idea of like, we could save this girl in 8 minutes, but there's so much red tape, there's so much politics, there's so much bureaucracy, and obviously the idea that like the people they have to get the safe route from are the same people shooting at this car, and how frustrating that is.
It's nonsensical.
And how annoying that is. And just as like strip away the politics, as an act of like human understanding, just how can we not just save a 6-year-old girl? This is like the depth of this tragedy is like unimaginable. So essential viewing, I would say. And I hope it gets a wide release. It's looking like it's going to get a bigger release than you'd expect for this kind of film.
Yeah.
I was speaking to a few people who kind of run in the distribution line of cinemas and stuff like that, and I think somebody said that it was going to be screening on over 100 screens within the UK, which I think is pretty big for the UK.
It's crazy that it does take a film like this that's hyper focused on a tragic scenario that did occur for it to ring home for people, because we hear the numbers every day. We hear this. We see this many children in this hospital or the school, and people just don't respond emotionally to numbers, which kind of is really sad and disappointing. It's much easier to ignore, but if we can put a film like this into people's laps, that they can completely resonate. It's a child, and I'd like to think that 199% of people have the humanity to resonate with this plight and this scenario, and this obviously needs as much help and distribution as it can get. I imagine this will do very well, and because it has been so well received and you enjoyed it. And what was the reception? What was the feeling like in the cinema when you saw this? Was quite a strange film to watch with other people, like quite an intense communal experience.
Yes, it was. So a lot of the time in the press screenings, you'll get to the end of the film and the credits will start and people will clap. And nice. Sometimes when they don't clap, it's a bad film. And sometimes you get like half a clap, or like with Hamnet, there was a big clap. You know what I mean? So like you're starting to get a sense of the room in that way. With the voice of Hind Rajab, it was silence as soon as the credits rolled, but that you could tell that wasn't out of
respect. It's out of respect.
It was out of respect, and everybody stayed as the credits rolled until the end of the credits. It was almost as if like nobody wanted to be the first person to leave, and it was really powerful because like everybody just sitting in the dark in silence, and all you could hear was like a few sobs from people around in the audience, because it's a really fucking difficult film to watch. It's incredibly devastating. I said it's really accessible, and now I'm saying it's really difficult. It's sad. It's a sad film. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I met with Amina from Amina Through the Screen. If anybody wants to follow her on Instagram, she's really interesting kind of film critic, writer, content creator. And we went to go see this one together, and I'm glad we had a bit of time prior to the film to catch up, because at the end of the film we're both there like, oof,
having to be vulnerable with a person you've just met.
We now have to decompress a little bit, but hopefully we'll hear more from Amina in the future. It was really nice to meet her, and that was the nice part of the day, followed by a difficult film, but a good one. And surprisingly good, I think, as well. Like I said, you could get so lazy with this film and still have the same reaction, but there is this great moment, and obviously I don't want to spoil too much, but is it a film you could spoil? I don't know. Maybe that's a weird thing to say. But there's this great moment where you're watching the actors on screen, and clearly when this happened, somebody was filming on their phone at the same time. and you see this hand pop up with this phone, and you see the real people,
No,
and
okay.
and in the background are the actors, and the hand moves with the phone, and the camera follows it, and you're watching the actors act out what is happening on the screen. So you get this, like, it really hits home that like it's a real
Yeah.
thing, and it maybe reminds you a few too many times, like every time the recording of Hind comes up on the screen, it's got like a file name and all that kind of stuff. Like, like
A little bit more trust would have been, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it kind of weaves that kind of documentary dramatization very well for the most part. But yeah, that was the film I ended with. I saw a few films online after that, but in terms of my personal screenings, but
there were some upbeat picks, but mostly a festival of personal tragedies.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Make it sound like the whole thing was really sad. It was just so interesting to watch so many good films.
No,
How many of them
it's
were
amazing, man.
sad? I guess quite a lot of them, really. Actually, yeah. I guess quite a lot of them. It was a really good lineup, though. I really enjoyed this one. I think I did a better job than last year in terms of mixing bigger films with smaller films. I think I've seen a good mix this year.
Well, you
and met
don't
some new
know what your
people.
threshold is first time, do you? You just gotta go. You gotta dive
Yeah.
in. You gotta know your limits pretty quickly, and you learn
Yeah.
your limits. Yeah.
And I only did a couple of 3 film days, whereas last year I did like a 4, I think, and I was that nearly
Just
destroyed
tipped
me.
you over the edge.
I think if I went with you next year, we'd have to go a bit full on just to give you the full experience. But I did
Okay.
enjoy having some of my evenings
Yeah.
and being able to sleep and rest. Like I didn't go as hard,
But also,
but
like,
I benefited from that.
navigate. You don't. The cinemas you don't know. You don't. They're all different theater locations around a central part of the city, and having somebody else to kind of bounce off with and not
Yeah.
navigate entirely by yourself could be a little bit of a relief. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And also like I was, for a lot of these films, I was sitting with people I'd met, which was quite nice. Whereas last year I was going in knowing nobody.
Yeah.
And this time I was like, "Oh, hey, Gavin, how you doing? Max, how you doing, man?" Like,
Yeah,
it
that's
was very
nice.
nice. Yeah, it was very nice. It was very nice.
Good.
That
I'm glad you
that
had a
was
good time.
London.
Well,
Reviewing the London Film Festival, 5 out of 5, baby.
5 out of 5 for the festival. So I'm really like you've really whet my appetite. I am gonna make sure I'm gonna be there next year.
I want you there. So it's going to be the lad's holiday I never had, but it's my kind of lad's holiday.
it's Alex's Ibiza.
This is my lad's holiday. Watching films with you, drinking
that's
whilst
so
talking about films
sweet.
with you, eating good food whilst talking about films with you, and then repeating it for about 5-6 days if we can.
Oh my goodness, we're gonna eat so much Burger King. No, awesome, man. Like, so you've sold it. Super excited. I'm so glad you had an amazing time. Actually,
Thank
that
you.
means so much to me, and I'm so glad that you have showcased some awesome films, some big ones that people are already obviously clamoring to see, myself included, and some ones that people probably didn't know about. You know, your reflections in the Dead Diamonds, your Rose of Nevadas. So super excited to catch up with those two. So lots of homework
Definitely.
for the next few months.
And Blue Heron, which we both saw and weren't aware about. We should definitely-
Absolutely. You know what? There is a little bit. I gotta say, whenever you get like screeners, like you get the LFF screeners for the online films, there's a little bit of resistance internally where you're just like, are these just like the films that they didn't really want to put on? You know what I mean? Like, am I gonna be watching films that are just like a little bit just below the belt? I'm so wrong. I was so wrong and so naive to go into it because, at the very least, even the ones like Ish that didn't completely ball me over, they're all completely worth seeing. And Blue Heron is a film that I feel like I should have paid to watch. I feel like I feel guilty.
Maybe we can.
Maybe we can. If it comes available in our local art cinemas or whatever, I will pay a ticket to see it again because it was incredible. And yeah, awesome. Thanks for showcasing that and all the other films, Alex. Awesome.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and happy to do it, and would be even more ecstatic, on top of the world.
Okay.
If you're able to come with me next week. I'm gonna keep trying.
No kitchen.
We might not need it.
Okay. So can I say next week, Alex and we are both doing, we like our seasonal episodes on the show. So we'll be back with a semi-Halloween special. We haven't overly sketched it out. Again, focusing on the blind spots that we've been catching up with at home, as well as newer releases like Bring Her Back and the new Ethan Hawke returning as the Grabber in the Black Phone 2. So it's nice to see a horror sequel with a 2 put on the end of it instead of the Black Phone, I don't know, colon voicemail or you missed a message or something stupid. I don't know.
I wonder where you're going there.
Anyway, that's a taster of the episode for next week. If you want to catch up on those movies, you got a little bit of time to do so. The Black Phone 2 is currently out in cinemas. So, without further ado, that has been the episode for this week. If you've enjoyed it, make sure, as always, to give us a 5-star rating or review. We really appreciate it, and we would like you as well. We would like you as human beings if you do that also. If you'd like to keep up to date with us, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Film Angle.
We also have a Film Angle playlist, which is up to date now. So if you want to listen to what we listen to, you can find that in the show notes. Be sure to catch us next week for more cinematic discussions. Goodbye.
See you later.